Welcome to the By Design radio program. My name is Dr. James Proodian of Proodian Healthcare and ProodianHealthcare.com, where health literacy is the key to longevity. And as long as God has us on this side of eternity, my show is designed to help educate you and your families to feel better, function better, and live as many quality, disease-free years as possible. Thanks for joining me this week. I hope everyone had a blessed and very safe Easter Resurrection Sunday. My wife and I had 37 for a sit-down dinner. So if next year, if you need a place to go, feel free to give us a call because we got plenty of room. We had just a wonderful time being with our family, and a lot of grandkids from my mother and my mother and father-in-law, and it was just a really blessed day and a great day at the house. And it's interesting, the again, preparation for today's show, I was really reflecting on how important having family is. You know, I know we all kid around that you can't give them back. You know, your family is your family. You're kind of stuck with them to some degree, and we all kind of make it work. You know, so many of us who have families, and I'm not saying it's without difficulty, and it's not without sometimes arguments and things, but it is really remarkable how God created the family and how staying unified and together is such an important component to life. Like I know in my world and in my own personal life, it's just so important, and no matter what happens, I always circle back to the importance of family and keeping it together. And I share that with you from a by design perspective, because by design, this show is always about what is man's plan versus what is God's plan. You know, if you guys have been with me since show one, this whole concept started when I was invited into Calvary Christian School to speak to I think it was the 3rd or 4th grade class on nutrition. And I simply drew a line on the board and I put God on one side and man on the other. And this just came to me. The Lord just provided me this kind of knowledge to do this with the young people. And I had the kids list all the foods made by man that are good for me. All the foods that man has created that are healthy and are good versus what God has made that are good. And we couldn't come up with anything that man has created in a laboratory that is healthy for a human being. So from high fructose corn syrup to hydrogenated corn oil to the manufacturing of white bread to genetically modified corn, you know, we went down this whole list of the plan. So, you know, the show is always designed around each one of my topics. What was God's design at the very creation of life? And you know, you can't help but to go there with family. So today's show is going to focus on family, and I'll kind of circle back to that throughout the show, because I think that as we go about our days and our lives, and you've heard me speaking to you this year in 2014, it's all been about the wellness lifestyle. And the wellness lifestyle is not a once in a while activity. I can't give you wellness. This is your job. And that's why in January I had you go buy your health journal. And if you haven't bought your health journal, I want you to go buy one, and I want you to go back and go to my archived shows on my YouTube channel. And my YouTube channel you could access at ProodianHealthcare.com. Just simply click the YouTube button and you will see my by design programs from show 1 through today, which I believe is show 70. And if you go back to just this year in January of 2014, you'll hear me talk about the health journal, and we're going to be logging various things in our health journal. I'm going to give you a few more that I want you to write in that journal today. So if we're living a wellness lifestyle, and the wellness lifestyle is not a once in a while activity, and it's focused on our physical, our nutritional, and our psychological life, we are doing things every day within our life to please God and to follow his plan. Now, I'm not saying on Easter I followed all of the types of eating program that I normally follow, but I got right back into my wellness lifestyle on Monday morning, and you know, with my exercise program and my nutrition program and the things that I do for my own stress management in my life, you know. So you know, the celebrations are wonderful. They're biblical that we should celebrate Christmas and Easter, and throughout the year we have our celebrations. But our wellness lifestyle, the following God's plan, puts us right back on track of eating the types of foods that he planned for us and doing the physical and psychological things that he also planned for us. So today, as we segue out of Easter and really focused on family, I wanted to share with you a letter I received. And Michael, if you're listening, I'm not going to give your last name. Michael sent me a letter. It was an interesting letter. You know, how often do you get a letter in the mail these days? Normally, email or texting or, something on Facebook will come through. But this was a letter that was typed. And after I read a few paragraphs of it, I realized that Michael is currently incarcerated and is in prison. So he wrote me this letter from prison and is a believer, and it was a very beautiful letter. And I'm not going to get into the personal side of the letter, but he asked me some very specific questions about the By Design radio program, and more specifically about the type of diet that he's following. So I'll read you a few of his questions. He asked me, he said on my show, I continually speak about the subject matter, and he wants to relate it to his health. The first question was, what's the purpose of cow's milk if it's not for human beings? That's relatively an easy one, Michael. You've heard me speak about how cow's milk consumed by human beings many times causes an adverse reaction. God created cow's milk for baby cows, just like God created mother's milk for baby humans. God created goat's milk for baby goats. So when you look at the biochemical breakdown of cow's milk, casein versus whey, for instance, the actual breakdown is designed to be ingested by a calf. The human consumption of cow's milk, and I've gone through this in some earlier shows, many times causes an allergic reaction in the gut because of the ratio of casein and whey and the way cow's milk is made by a cow. So I'm not a huge fan of dairy products to begin with as in clinical practice. I rarely use them in my dietary protocols with patients. And cow's milk, particularly inorganic, if you consume cow's milk, it should certainly be organic. You may want to spend some time, for those of you out there who have access to the internet, and do a little bit of research. If you want to go to functional medicine, you could look through the functional medicine information on cow's milk. So that was my answer to your first question, Michael. The second question is corn man-made, and is it bad for you? Well, corn is certainly something that has been greatly processed over the last 80 to 100 years, meaning that corn is a grain. It is not a vegetable, and it grows on a stalk. And those of us who drive through New Jersey, we see plenty of corn during the summer. And corn as a grain grown in an organic environment, let's say, for instance, that has not been genetically modified by man, and eaten on the cob or, boiled in water or, steamed, is not necessarily a bad food. Although if you're avoiding grains in your diet, you should not consume corn. But the problem with corn is how many things man has been able to do with it in a laboratory. For instance, high fructose corn syrup and hydrogenated corn oil are two products that, in my opinion, should be banned by the FDA and should not be manufactured for human consumption. And it's not just my opinion. It's when you look at the science behind what corn syrup and what corn oil does to the human body, you realize that these foods, which were man-made, our reaction, our bodily reaction, our biological reactions to these foods, creates fatty liver disease, high blood pressure, cancer, heart disease, all of the chronic illnesses. Many of them are linked to foods made by processed corn. So I know it's kind of a long-winded answer, and I'm not anti-corn, but I'm anti what man has done with corn. His final question was about flour. He asked, how bad is flour for the human body and its digestive system? So let's first talk about flour. Flour is something that grows wheat, okay? And man, once again, stepped in, I think it was in around 1917, and started to bleach brown flour and make it white. White flour is something none of us should be consuming, or if we consume it, maybe on a celebration like Easter. But white flour has no nutritional value, has an instant reaction with insulin made by your pancreas, and is something that really should be avoided. So he touched on cow's milk, corn, and white flour. And so what I did was today, I looked at, so many people are coming in now. It's just the time, the sun comes out. Everybody wants a diet for the summer. And so, I've said in the past, the first 3 letters of the word diet is die. You die on a diet. Remember, we're living a wellness lifestyle. So they want to lose weight to fit into their bikinis and such. And I tell my patients all the time, instead of living like that, instead of living for the moment, let's get on a plan and just some quick tips that I'm going to give you today from a nutritional perspective and also a physical one. And this relates to your letter, Michael. I've never read in the literature that someone, had a life event, meaning their life-threatening event, because they gave up gluten. So when for instance, or alcohol or soda. So the oldest form of dieting, the oldest form of you guys saying on Monday morning, what am I going to do? For 30 or 60 days, if you want to write this down in your health journal, why don't you try for about 30 or 60 days not to consume gluten, dairy, alcohol, soda, or processed foods. So if you just kind of drew the line in the sand and you said, for the next 60 days, I've been listening to this guy Proodian speak. I have some pain in my shoulders, my back, and I'm a little bit overweight. I'm sort of fatigued in the afternoon. Let's avoid certain foods that we know are going to have a biochemical effect and a toxicity effect on the human body. So back to Michael's letter, which is he asked questions specific about cow's milk, and he asked corn and flour. Let's eliminate them for 30 or 60 days, and let's see how you feel. That doesn't mean that you can't eat. I want you to eat an abundance of God's food. Dark green leafy vegetables and fruit and healthy proteins and healthy fats. And with meat, eat grass-fed meat and organic chicken. You really want to focus on foods that were created by God and not by man. And if you did this for 30 or 60 days and you sent me an email, I'd really appreciate it. Like, tell me how you did. Okay, but it's up to us to make changes in our lives. And if we were going to make certain changes in our lives, that would be a quick tip on where to begin. Remember, this is all about how I know I'm going to circle back to the family in a second, so hang with me. But the goal of today is just to give you some quick tips. Number 1 was the elimination diet. Number 2, go for a massage. Lay down on a table and get a full body massage. It's a wonderful form of treatment. It allows toxins to flow. And remember to drink a ton of water before and after your massage. It's a very healthy thing to do. If you're involved in an exercise program and it's working for you, I want you to stick with it. If you do not have an exercise program, let's get you on the right type of exercise program. I just blogged recently on exercise prescriptions, okay? You can go to drproodian.com, and I blog every Wednesday. If you go back a few blogs, you'll read about exercise prescriptions. Okay, and let's get off man's stress plan. Man has created an environment for us. It has a lot of texting, a lot of emailing, a lot of quick, short answers instead of thorough communication, instead of eyeball-to-eyeball contact, where I'm going to have a direct conversation with another human being. Okay, we want to get off man's stress plan. Let's get back on God's plan. So elimination dieting, a little bit of massage, a good exercise program, and let's monitor those stress behaviors. Now, as we're doing that, going back to the family, I'm going to tie this all together, because remember Luke 1:37, for with God nothing is impossible. This show is based upon that. We need to then say, why? Why are we doing all of these things, guys? I have a picture that I show every audience when I do my public speaking, and it's a picture of my wife and my 5 children. The reason why I want to live a wellness lifestyle is A, to honor God and the physical, mental, and nutritional being that He made me. And number 2, because I want to be with my family. I want to be able to run with my children in the yard at the age of 48. I want to be able to run with my grandchildren when I'm 88. If the Lord keeps me here that long. So what makes you happy? Happy is a word I seldom use because I'm not a huge fan of the word happy, but I can't help but to use it here because I'm tying together the happiness that you and I, as human beings, that we get through our relationship with God and our families. Now, I tied family into this, and the show's really tied together with family because I'm sitting there and I have this picture of my wife and my 5 children. That's my family. I have pictures on my desk of me and my mother and father. That's my family. Those are the things that are my desire in my own personal life that makes me happy. It gives me fulfillment. It gives me a reason to wake up and to feel good about myself, about the things that I'm doing that the Lord has blessed me with, and every day trying to honor Him. So if we look at these quick tips that I gave you, we tie it together with the family, and we think about Michael's questions that he sent me. Let's not diet for the summer. Let's get on a wellness lifestyle program. Let's avoid foods that God has created for us. And in Michael's case, the availability of some of these foods are sometimes difficult. In some upcoming shows, I'm going to talk about when we're in an environment that the foods that we want to consume are not available to us, how do we make those modifications? I hope you grabbed some tidbits out of today's show. It flew by. My time is already up. And I want to thank you for listening to the By Design radio program and joining me, Dr. James Proodian, for this episode. If you'd like more information about me, please go to ProodianHealthcare.com. All of my social media icons there, including my blog site link. And remember the YouTube channel if you want to catch up on some shows. This week, here are the quick tips. Elimination diet, gluten, dairy, alcohol, soda, processed food. Go grab a massage, get on the right exercise program, and get off man's stress plan. What makes you happy? Put some pictures up of the things that are going to motivate you to live that wellness lifestyle. God bless you and have a great week.